So guys, welcome to the frequency module. And in this module, we're going to break down exactly what is the frequency metric, why this is important when analyzing your ad data, and how maybe a lot of you will be getting it wrong when it comes to actually analyzing your Facebook ad data. So let's actually dive into start with what exactly is the frequency metric. So the frequency metric is a metric that measures how many times on average each person has seen your ad during a select period of time. So this could be a 7-day window, it could be a 30-day window, a 1-day window, etc. So why is this actually important when analyzing your ad metrics? So meta ads work as a full funnel system. So rather than judging your ad in isolation, which many of you, might actually be doing already, this is why it's important to look at your ads more holistically. So where your ads might be sitting in the marketing funnel. So if you're judging your ads individually and not using this metric, is going to provide you with a misleading picture and give you false winners. So now that we know that Meta works as a full funnel system, and what I mean by this is that some of your ads will be used as bottom of funnel, some of your ads will use at top of funnel, whether you're running an ABO campaign that has 3 or 4 stacked ads in there. Some of those ads will actually be used for bottom of funnel. And here's actually why. So what Meta actually does is automatically distributes your ads across different stages of the funnel. So even if you're running ads to cold audiences, Facebook is going to use some of those ads to actually retarget the same audience and place your ads within that funnel. So what we get is that if you go to your ad account, have a look at your data and go into, one of your campaigns. And if you're running, multiple ads in there, you'll notice that the frequency inside is slightly different on each ad. You might have one running at a 1.1, or you might have one running at a 2. So it's important to actually look at this data and understand where your ad is sitting in the funnel before we then go on to measure the other metrics, because a lot of people will just look at ROAS, maybe the CPA, and maybe judge the winners based upon that. And that can be misleading and you could be killing your own funnel. So let's actually go into first the frequency equation. So if you don't understand frequency, basically, if your ad has had 1,200 impressions and 1,000 reach, then 1,200 divided by 1,000 equals 1.2. That means that on average, each person saw your ad 1.2 times. So low frequency number is anywhere between 1 and 1.3, and your ads will naturally have a higher CPA. So if your ads have a higher frequency, let's say above 1.5, maybe a 2, a 3, or a 4, it was likely that your ads will have a lot lower CPA because these ads are effectively being used as retargeting ads. So here are just a few things that you need to consider. If your ad has high frequency and has a high cost per purchase, you need to focus on prospecting ads. This means that these ads are being seen by the same people over and over again, and it's driving up your frequency. Have a look at, this on a 7-day window, have a look at it on, maybe a 14-day window and a 30-day window, and see exactly how many times your ads are being shown to the same customers. So if your ads have a high CPA with a low frequency and you don't have high frequency ads, it means that you need to focus more on bottom of funnel ads. This will also drive down the CPA as well. So make sure to actually dive into your campaigns, and even if you are running a cold campaign to your audience, some of these ads will likely have a higher frequency than others. So as we can see on the left-hand side here, we can see that this is the lowest frequency. We can see that campaign 1 is probably going to be driving new people into the funnel. So it's probably going to have a higher CPA, lower ROAS, but essentially it's being used to sort of set up people in this funnel. And as we can see, the one below, we've got a 2.39. That means that this is the highest frequency, and it's hitting more people in your audience that's already seen your ad before. So what we can understand from looking at these ads here is that this one is probably at top of funnel, and this one is maybe being used more for bottom of funnel, and it's actually retargeting these users. So the way we would actually analyze these ads is looking at it more holistically, and we'll get onto that in a second. But we can see that 2 and 3, they don't have as high frequency as the second one here, but maybe these ones haven't been right at the bottom of the funnel. Maybe they're just being, as you can see here, it's a 1.34. So maybe they've hit, a small percentage, but still, people are being retargeted with these ads. So it's more than likely that these ads have been shown a couple of times to this audience. So if we just go and have a look at this top ad here, if we turn off this ad, let's say for an example, in this one, and it's driving these results for even these ads below, we are basically cutting out this funnel, because you are not going to have this top of funnel prospecting campaign, and it's going to essentially, if you cut this off, it's going to directly affect these ads down below. And if these ads down below have a higher ROAS, a lower CPA, then if you turn this off, that's going to then drive up these results here, because you're essentially affecting this top of funnel campaign. And people need warming up to ads. People need warming up to your brand, what the product is. And that's why when you run a top of funnel campaign to a cold audience, is that, very little amount of people will buy off the first look. You'll have the impulse buys, but, it's going to take 5 to 7 touch points before they actually come and then buy for most people. So what's the key thing to remember here is retargeting only works because these top of funnel prospecting campaigns fill this funnel here. So this is the mistake that a lot of people make, is if you are turning off the ad, let's say for an example, it's this top one here that have the lowest ROAS and highest CPA, is that you might be killing your own funnel by doing this. And the key thing to remember is that retargeting only works because prospecting actually fills the top of funnel ads. So in order to actually combat this, we need to look more at a holistic view, and this actually prevents the false conclusions. So the bottom line is, don't declare winners based solely on the CPA and highest ROAS, the lowest CPA, without context of actually looking at these other metrics. Because as we have understand just above and previously, is that some of these ads, they might be more bottom of funnel, and in turn, it's going to have a lot higher ROAS and a lot lower CPA. So if you just base it off just, CPA and ROAS, it's going to give you a false data. So what you need to do is factor in the frequency at the funnel stage and have a look at this in a bigger context. So number one, a prospecting ad that steadily brings in people, even if it's got a low ROAS, is reaching net new people. So if you have this coupled with retargeting ads that convert those prospects efficiently, this holistic view prevents false conclusions and ensures you actually scale your Facebook campaigns sustainably. So what we don't want to do is cut off the top of funnel campaigns and just have, these ones that have maybe going to give false data of the bottom of funnel. So now that we understand where your ads might sit in the funnel and how frequency impacts their performance, you can optimize each stage of your campaign for long-term success instead of cutting short-term metrics. So what a lot of you might actually be, incurring when you actually run your ads is that, say for an example, you're running a campaign, you may have a couple of ads inside that. 1, maybe 2 ads might be doing quite well, and you essentially turn off that campaign at the top of funnel, which is driving, the cold audiences into the other ads. Then If you then go ahead, base this off short-term data as well, and you cut off that top ad, it's gonna affect the cold audiences that you're bringing in. And that's how you can actually kill some of your campaigns. If you're not, say if you're up in spend and you're trying to reach net new audiences, the CPA on that is going to be higher, the ROAS is going to be lower, and you need those top of funnel campaigns to funnel these to the bottom of funnel audience. So one of my final thoughts is that a better way to track this is through the blended ROAS across the whole marketing funnel. So whether you're using third-party attribution, whether you're using Triple Whale, make sure you actually track the blended ROAS. That's going to give you a more accurate data rather than, isolating these campaigns, looking at them, turning one off because you think, it's not got the right metrics, maybe you might be just breaking even on it. But what you don't understand is that's funneling the bottom of funnel campaigns. So make sure to actually track MER as well, which is the marketing efficiency ratio, to assess an overall paid performance. So taking website revenue and dividing it by total ad spend on all your paid channels. So this is the frequency metric, and just a few final points is that look at all of your metrics. Don't just look at ROAS and CPA. It can give you false winners, and make sure to take this into account when you actually look at your campaigns. And don't just turn off one ad just because you think it's, not driving the results you want, because it might be affecting, the other ads down below. And that sits in the funnel. And if you turn one off, you might just be killing your own funnel. So I hope this makes sense, and thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.